Since late 2024, major banks like RBC and Scotia started introducing restrictions on USD spending limits on credit cards because of the forex supply issue. RBL joined mid last year 2025, and now as of March 2026, FCB has also implemented this restriction. FCB, their limit was $6,000 US, and now it's down to $2,000. Once the banks started to implement this, the only thing I was thinking of is in terms of travel, planning, and while you're on your vacation. So let's talk about all the things we actively have to think about. But before we get into the video, hey, welcome back to this Trini Will Travel. I'm Keisha, Trini, currently living in Milan. If you're interested in all things travel, especially from a Caribbean perspective, go ahead and subscribe. But for now, yeah, let's talk about this $2,000 limit and how we navigate in this when it comes to travel. So basically now all major banks have capped the USD spending limit at $2,000 US. So it doesn't matter how high your TT limit is, you're still restricted in terms of the amount of US that you're able to spend on your credit card. Those are all physical and online transactions. So this means you have to be a lot more strategic, especially when planning bigger vacations, that the sum of your expenses is going to come up to $2,000, and timing it in a way that it doesn't impact everything. Before making purchases, you actively have to think of your billing cycle. So when does your billing cycle reset? What major purchases need to be made this month, next month, especially if it's coming up towards, if you're planning for vacation, and of course, what can wait. What does this mean, especially if you only have one credit card? It means your planning needs to be a little more meticulous, and the vacation would need to be booked in different stages across your different billing cycles. So for example, if your billing cycle is from the 15th, any purchases you make from the 15th of one month to the 15th of the next month will count towards that spending limit. So sometimes we may link monthly spending to like the first of the month to the end of the month, but you need to take into consideration your billing cycle. So be sure you have that in mind when thinking of your spending. If you're custom purchasing online, so let's say if you're taking a trip to a nice little tropical place, you want to buy some nice outfits. If you want to buy your clothes online, that's going to be using from your US limits. If you also have to book your accommodation, flights, car rental, you can stagger this out coming down to the date and limit non-essential purchases. Little things that we forget or sometimes don't know or don't take into consideration because sometimes you just take things for granted. So one of the things to take into consideration when booking hotels as well as car rentals is that some of these establishments require that you have a security deposit on hold. So when you book your hotel, okay, fine, you book your hotel 3 months in advance. However, once you get to your destination and you go to check-in, sometimes they require you to have a security deposit on hold, be it the cost of one night, the cost of 2 nights. They require you to have a security deposit. They'll have, let's call it $300 US on hold. It also happens sometimes with the car rentals. They require a certain amount to be held on your card. So although you're not physically using the money, you're not going to have access to it. So this is going to limit what you have available in that given period. Another thing that came to mind to take into consideration is when booking flights, say you're taking a group trip, say you're taking a family trip, and to manage the US, you decide to split payments on different credit cards. So you say, okay, you will book the flights, I will book the accommodation. If you have a credit card or a program that has, like, let's say travel insurance, for the travel insurance to be active, you need to book it on your credit card. So it might not be a situation of where, okay, you book the flights, I book the hotels. It might be a situation of, no, I still need to book my flight, able to activate my travel insurance. So these are some of the things to take into consideration. Also, let's say you have a travel rewards card, and if you have that certain credit card with the airline, you earn extra miles if you book your flights. So you'll get points for spending money, but you'll also double the points for booking your flight with that particular card. So then, yeah, you can earn double points, and then you may miss out on earning double points because someone else purchased the tickets. So these little things to take into consideration. It is a bit annoying, But what can we do? Another option people may be thinking to get around is to get a second credit card. But listen, don't put yourself in debt just to have extra US. But if you do want to do that, I just saw that CIBC has a JetBlue Travel Rewards credit card with an annual fee of $0. So if you can promise yourself that you're not going to incur any interest because the interest rates are very high, if you can promise yourself that you won't incur any interest, that's a good option to have additional US available. There's another point I was going to make, but now I've forgotten what I was going to say. And the funny thing is, Scotiabank, I saw Scotiabank puts like in their FAQs, they said how to deal, like basically just like how to deal with this limit if you're traveling, like to pay for your hotels and car rentals. And they said if like you could see if the accommodation or the establishment accepts like a wire transfer, and you can request a wire transfer. But at the same time, they said it's not a guaranteed for you to get a wire transfer, because of course they'll still need to do it with US dollars, and of course there's still a forex shortage issue. So even though there is that option and it's going to be a whole like sort of paperwork and back and forth, it's still not guaranteed, but they offered it as an option. So instead of accessing the limits on your credit card, you can try to do a wire transfer from the funds in your account. But of course, if you do a wire transfer, let's say you have a Travels Rewards credit card or even just a rewards card, you're not going to get your points. So what's the point? But anyway, I know this could be frustrating, but one thing about us Trinis, we are innovative, we are creative. So comment below, how have you been navigating this situation? How have you been strategizing to still ensure you're able to travel while still remaining within that $2,000 limit? And honestly, we've always had to be strategic, especially when it comes to travel. So it's just another hurdle to overcome, but safe travels until next time.